Before this video starts, feel free to skim around this video because it is very long. And other than that, I hope you find this video educational. Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm making a little video here about the best exercises for beginners, for losing weight and for also building muscle at the same time. I've heard the common statement that you can actually gain muscle while losing weight, but it's not that easy, right? Because first you have to go on a cut, which means that you have to eat less calories if you're trying to lose weight. And during the cut, you're gonna gain strength and you're gonna gain definition, but muscle size you're not gonna gain. That comes from eating in a surplus, eating more, bulking. So first you would have to get into an actual cut before you would get into a bulk. You would have to essentially get rid of your body fat. Lower it. You'd have to essentially lower your body fat to a level where you have a pretty low percentage of it, let's say around 12 to 15%. And if you're trying to increase your strength, then that would be a good period to start eating more, eating in a surplus to gain more strength, bulking up. But this video is primarily targeted for beginners and people who are most likely willing. It's targeted mostly for people who want to actually lose weight. So, with that being said, we're going to review some of the exercises here. Also, if you find something strange here, like the last two thingamabobs right here, you might be wondering why it doesn't say bad or something like that. But that's because I've included these two because some of the exercises that I have down here might be too difficult for entry level. So I'm just letting you know beforehand. All right, so starting off, we're gonna start off with the body weight squat, right? So this is a very great exercise for beginners, not only because it's you don't need any equipment for it, and you could do it at the comfort of your home. So plus working out your legs is actually scientifically, you can look up a study online. It is scientifically proven that leg exercises burn more calories than upper body exercises. So if you're looking to lose weight and you're a beginner, this is by far one of the best exercises you can do. Right. Next up, we got deadlifts, right? We got deadlifts. And you might notice that there's a actual barbell. And that's because you'd have to actually have a gym membership for some of these. So taking that into account, right? The deadlift is a very great exercise because it works the entire leg. It works the quads and the hamstrings, and it also works out the upper back as well. Not only do you have to grip the bar, that also helps out your grip strength as well, depending on how much weight you put on it. But really there can be a kind of a learning curve to it. You'd have to look up proper videos on form and how to have your back in the best way possible, because this is a pretty difficult movement to learn. It looks basic, but it is pretty like hard to get the technique down. But still, it's fairly easy to catch up on. That's why I'm not gonna place it in these two boxes. So I'm gonna place it here. Plus, the deadlift it's a very good exercise for the legs. Mostly all leg workouts are very good for losing weight and for gaining muscle as well. All right, so next up we got dips, right? So these are a bit complicated, because if you're starting out, right, and let's say you're overweight or obese, you're most likely not going to be doing dips, and you're most definitely not going to be doing weighted dips. So although it is definitely a good exercise for the chest and for the tricep, this exercise does require that you already have like a decent fitness level, or like that you're decently like skinny, like well built already. So that's why I'm gonna put it in the hard difficulty. But it's not impossible. All you'd have to do is just gain a bit more experience in the other exercises I will mention on, until you are able to do, let's say, more than 8 reps. Or until you are able to do 8 reps for dips. Then you should be able to actually find some pretty good results from the dips. Right. So next on, we got the lat pull down, right? So you could probably find you've probably walked past these in your gym if you go to one, and they're essentially a very good exercise if you can't do pull-ups yet. If you can't do pull-ups, the lat pull down is a very great alternative. And the fact that you can just like adjust the weight on it and stuff, and it's not just like the same for most of the time, it makes it a great alternative for the pull-up, which is most of the time too difficult for a beginner. So that's why I'm gonna put it over here in effective. Right. So next up we got push-ups. Now these are a fundamental exercise. Guys in the military do them all the time. People like bodybuilders do them all the time. It's really a fundamental like layer of bodybuilding in general. Like, just look at the bench press. It's like the bench press, if I can find it here, right here. The bench press is like exactly like the push-up, but just, lying flat on the floor and stuff like that. And it's a fundamental exercise, right? So I'm not going to place it in good. I'm going to place it in best, because you can also do them. You can also do them straight from your house. You don't have to go to a gym for them. And they're really good. They're excellent. They're excellent for chest development and for losing weight as well. Right. So next up we have the seated leg curl. Right. So you've probably also seen these in your gym if you see them. Right. These are good, right? You can get a pretty decent pump out of these, but I do feel that you can also get a good pump from the deadlifts as well. So I feel actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the seated leg curls would be easier to do. they'll be easier to do for a beginner, right? Because the deadlifts, you have to learn the technique. You have to essentially, you essentially have to master the technique before you can like do any heavy movements with it and really strain the muscle for like maximum calorie burn, you know? So if it's literally like day one, right? You should, and it's leg day. Let's say it's literally day one and it's leg day. You should be doing more like basic workouts, not doing anything crazy like weighted deadlifts or anything, unless you already have the experience, so that you don't like get any injuries, you don't hurt your back, because all this stuff is very important, right? You should watch, you have to watch videos on the proper technique on how to do these, and so you can get the most out of the exercise, right? Because if you're coming there, you're just not gonna be able to use the most out of the exercise, right? You're not gonna get the most out of the exercise, right? So that's why I'm putting the deadlift in the good tier list, right? That's why I'm putting it there. Although it is definitely a very effective exercise, it's better to do deadlifts than to do seated leg curls, because it's just a monster of an exercise. If you can see the guy who's carrying the weight here, not only is it contracting his quads, but it's also contracting, you might not be able to see it, it's like it's not that noticeable, but you can literally see his quad and his hamstring being worked out, as well as his calf. So it's really it's a fundamental exercise, just like the squat. But the difference is that it does require, it's not that noticeable, but you can literally see his quad and his hamstring being worked out, as well as his calf. So it's really it's a fundamental exercise, just like the squat. But the difference is that it does require a learning curve. Right, so next on, we got the seated leg curls. Right, so same with the same with the seated leg curls, right? It's a really good exercise. It's not as good as, for example, just doing like regular squats, like for example right here. Weighted squats is a lot better than doing seated leg extensions, but the squats also do require a bit of a learning curve in the beginning, because you have to learn the proper form for them. But that doesn't mean that it's not as effective, right? So remember, this is a list for beginners, for people who at least barely step in the gym, or for people who barely step in the gym, or don't exercise at all. So right. So we got the seated leg curls, right? If I haven't explained already, it's the reason why it's so good the reason why it's so good for an entry level is because it's a really intense exercise. It's very intense. It can be very intense, especially during the high rep ranges. And since it's a leg exercise, it also burns more calories than doing an upper body workout. But still, don't neglect the upper body nor the lower body, because at the end of the day, they're both crucial to having a like a proper physique, an attractive physique, whatever you want to call it, and just being healthy in general, you know? Right? So next up, we got the bicep curls, right? So you've seen these all the time in movies and stuff. Like you'll see like a super ripped guy lifting these up and down. And he's got it all pumped up and shit. So where will we put the bicep curl, right? I'd say I'd put the bicep curl at effective, because I feel that although it's, although it can be like replaced, like for example, for the next one that we have, which is actual like pull-ups and stuff, I feel that the bicep curl is fundamental as well. It's not essentially the best, but they do help a lot in getting stronger biceps and just actually helping out your self-esteem. Because when you look at yourself in the mirror, what's the first pose you strike up in the mirror? Like if you're trying to look macho and stuff, and what's the first pose you strike up in the mirror? And that's the bicep. You strike up a bicep pose. You're trying to show off the guns, right? So the bicep curls, I think it's really good. It's fundamental. It's an exercise that every beginner must do to boost their self-esteem and to really just get that gym mindset into them, right? It's like a what's it called? Like a pop culture exercise, something like that, something like that, right? So next up, we got the wide pull-ups. So this isn't just like regular pull-ups, right? These are wide pull-ups, meaning that if you see from the little guy, I'm like moving right here, the guy has his hands out wide to his sides. They're not shoulder length, but they're even further, And what that does is that it puts more strain. It puts more strain on your back, which is good. But you see how ripped this guy is? Most people aren't at that level yet. So you'd first have to get to a certain fitness level to be able to, get the best results from doing, these exercises. So that's why I'm putting this one at the very hard tier, because most people won't be able to do a wide push-up, let alone a regular push-up, since it's a hard movement to learn, even when you're starting out, even when you're fairly skinny. It's a hard exercise, and that's why I'm putting it hard, right? So next up, we got the weighted bench press, right? The barbell bench press. Now this is another fundamental exercise. It's great. It's an awesome exercise because you get a mean ass chest pump. Exactly like the push-up. But what this allows you to do is it allows you to go even further beyond your normal plateau when you're doing, push-ups, because push-ups, the weight doesn't change. But when you're doing barbell bench presses, you're doing more weight than you would normally do. So it really does stimulate muscle growth. But for losing weight, I'd say, and for beginners, I would say that I'd have to put it right here down with the good, because it does require a lot of technique, exactly like the deadlift, right? So although it is good, it's I'm telling you, like, these two, good and effective, right here, these two, although they're great, although these two right here, they're very close. They're very close. The difference is that good has a learning curve, whereas effective, it's accessible to people who are, beginners, right? So the reason why I put bench press in good is because it requires technique. It requires a certain technique, and you'd have to research a bit, maybe get like a spotter friend to watch you, make sure that you're doing the weight properly and stuff like that. So although I'm not trying to discourage you from doing these. I think you should still do these that are difficult, right? Because there's not too much of a risk here. There is, but there isn't too much risk if you're going lightweight, right? That is just lifting up and putting down the weight with a weight that you can safely control, right? So I'm not discouraging you to try any of these at all, but I'm just saying that if you want to do something that's more effective for your current level that you are in right now, it would be best to do these up here, right? So these are more advanced, but that does not mean I'm discouraging you from trying them at all, since they're very great exercises. All the exercises I have right here are very good exercises, and I think everybody should try them. But if you're a beginner, you should definitely try a safe weight that you can safely control. Right. So next one that we have is the barbell squat. Now, this is an awesome exercise because it works like the deadlift. It works the entire leg, mainly focusing on the actual quadricep, on the quads. And the reason why I'm going to put it in one of these right now is because it also does require a learning curve. All right, so next up, we got lunges, right? So lunges are a absolutely great exercise. They're an awesome exercise because if you can see right there, they also work the quadriceps as well as the hamstrings, right? So overall, they're a fundamental exercise, and you don't really need a gym to go. You don't need you don't need a gym membership, and it's easy to do. It's not super complicated. I do recommend though that you do search up a video that teaches you the right technique for it, because if you lean forward a bit too much and your knee goes a bit too forward, it can not damage your knee, but I mean it's possible, but it can just not lead to like as efficient of a result that you'd want. But it's a leg exercise, and it's very good. It's very good for hitting the legs, because like I said before, the legs are a more efficient calorie burner. When you're exercising the legs, it's better to exercise them. All right. So next up, we have crunches, right? All right, so next up we got the crunch, right? So the reason why I prefer doing crunches over sit-ups is because the sit-up actually doesn't work the it doesn't work the muscle as well as just doing a normal crunch. Plus, just doing a regular crunch, um, it doesn't as negatively affect your back, your spine. Um, like Mike Tyson, right? Mike Tyson used to do like, I'm not even sure, like 5,000. Don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure, but it was somewhere around there. He used to do like 1,000 to 5,000 sit-ups every day, but I remember mentioning that it really did mess up his back because it's just doing too many of those could actually mess up your back. So I feel like the crunch is a slightly better alternative, though it still can mess up your back if you do it too frequently. But I'm going to put this at best because you don't need a gym and it's perfect for a beginner to do them, right? You don't need any weights, you just need your own body weight and a little bit of space, just like all these exercises that are up here. All these exercises up here are the best for beginners. His quads, but it's also contracting. You might not be able to see it. It's like very. So for the next exercise that we have the standard push-up, which is different from the wide pull-up. So the standard pull-up is it's a very hard exercise for most beginners, um, including people that are overweight and people that just haven't been training enough in the gym. So this is a pretty intermediate exercise to be getting into. So plus you have to have a pretty good base strength. So I would say that these are a bit more complicated to get into, but they are extremely effective. They are extremely effective at building a very strong back and also for building strong muscles as well, for building aesthetic muscles in the back. So I'm going to place it in the hard tier list, the hard section, because although it is difficult, for definitely probably difficult for most beginners, it is definitely something that you should practice as well as the dip. It is definitely something, all of these in general, you should practice with precaution, but more like these that don't involve weights and just your body weight. These are the ones that you should be practicing because they are your body weight. Calisthenics is a very easy way to start losing weight when you're a beginner. So give these a try. Even though you might not be able to do them fully, still learn how to practice them a little. And because it mostly does just come down to practice. Just practice. It just comes down to practice, believe it or not. So, right, next up we got the flat leg raises, right? So the flat leg raise, actually I have two of them. I have two pictures of this shit here. I'm gonna get this one because it's nicer. So the flat leg raise, right, it's also pretty difficult to do for a beginner. Most beginners probably can't do like 10. It's pretty difficult to do. But I'm going to put it in the good because not only is it effective in building a strong core, And although it is, like a pretty hard exercise, I think it's almost like necessary. And you can actually, I'm gonna put this one in effective because not only can you do it from your home, um, it's just more like a practice thing. Once you start doing them every single day, you'll notice that you'll get a lot stronger, like very fast. Very fast, you'll start to see that you'll be able to rep these out more. And it's just practice. Just practice makes perfect. But since it is pretty difficult, I'll put it at effective because it's still very good, very good for building a strong core, but it could be a little difficult to start up with. All right, next we got running. So I put a little picture of Rocky there because I love my Rocky, that shit. I love Rocky, and running is by far one of my favorite exercises to do, and it's just fundamental. It's fundamental, like the push up, like the squat, like the deadlifts, like the bench press. It's just something that you need to do in order to be a healthy human, right? Because back in the days when we'd go out and hunt boars and shit, we'd be running for God knows how long, chasing after our prey, right? So running is just something that we do naturally. So I'm gonna put it at best because not only is it a great way to lose weight, not just doing running as well as weighted exercises. Those two combined will give you the best results for losing weight as a beginner. Right? So running's just top tier. It's awesome. Do it even if you're like bulking or cutting, because it's just a good way to stay healthy. And who doesn't want to stay healthy. All right, so we got the leg press. Leg press. This one's like, I think it's like there's two variations of it. One's like completely vertical, and this one's like a bit more horizontal. So the leg press for beginners, I'm probably gonna put it at effective as well. But it depends because you could also injure yourself with the leg press. Not as often, but you have to make sure you don't mess up anything. It's a good it's not a replacement for the squat because the squat is just absolutely fundamental. But it's a good like alternative if you can't do squats with proper form. So I'm gonna put this in effective actually, because there's nothing too crazy about it. It's just lifting the weight up and down and making sure that your legs don't fully extend at the top, because then the weight might curl back on you and you don't really want that to happen. I'll show a clip. Next up, we got the bench press with dumbbells. The dumbbell bench press. All right, so this one is also pretty difficult. It can be pretty difficult to learn unless you have like a spotter who's there to properly assist you. But it's a slightly better alternative than the barbell bench press, which does require more technique. And that's why I'm gonna put it in effective, because it gets the job done. It's a good exercise. Right. I'm gonna take that out. And this last one that I have is wrist curls. Wrist curls. Now, this one isn't one that you really have to get into. It's just good like a good little side thingy you can do to increase your forearm size, to have better grip. And it's just like a neat little exercise, for not for losing weight, but more for like gaining muscle. So I'd say it's also very effective, but something it's not something that you absolutely need. So here you have it. Here is the best exercises for beginners for losing weight. We got squats, push-ups, lunges, crunches, and running, right? And if you go to a gym, right, you can do lat pull downs, seated leg curls, seated leg extensions, bicep curls, and just everything. You got mostly the entire upper body here. Now you could also add some more stuff here. I forgot to add some shoulder work here, but if you want to, you can do. I'll show up a little picture here. You can do lateral raises. There you go. Actually, I'm just give me a sec. I'm gonna stop being lazy. Give me. Right. So the lateral raises, right, for the shoulders, are also uh, they're also very useful when it comes to building strong shoulders. So it's more like a muscle building exercise rather than losing weight. But it does help with vascularity in the shoulders, as well as just having stronger shoulders in general. So I recommend doing lateral raises as well. So I'm gonna place it ineffective because they're not too difficult to learn, and they're just a pretty useful tool, right? So that's what I have, right? Up here we have mainly body weight movements for people who don't go to a gym because they either lack a membership or they just don't have enough money to pay for the membership, which is understandable. Like everybody has a different financial situation, you know. Um, so right. So these are the best if you're currently at home and you're trying to lose weight. Mainly leg exercises and some upper body are going to help you out a lot. Now, let's say you are using weights and you're going to a gym and you have machines and stuff like that, then these should be the first that you start with because they're they're mostly like the easier exercises to get into, and they're not as complicated as some of the exercises that are down here, right? So most of these exercises like the lat pull down, the leg curl, the leg extension, the bicep curl, and most of these, except a few like probably the dumbbell bench press, which can be kind of complicated. Yeah, I'd recommend getting a spotter to help you out with the weight, or just making sure that it's well positioned with your chest. Little hint, little a tip of advice I can give is that you should place when you're coming down with the weight, you should make it so that you're lowering an imaginary barbell down onto the lower part of your chest, like where there's kind of like a line, right? So that's where you should be lowering the dumbbells. You should be pretending that you have a barbell and pretending that that barbell is hitting the lower part of your chest, like just right below where the nipple is, right? So these are the exercises that are most effective if you have a gym. to lose weight with, including running. So you shouldn't neglect these. If you're going to a gym, then you definitely shouldn't neglect the exercises that are up here, especially running. Like running is very good for losing weight, right? So what we have next are the more complicated exercises down here. Now, like I said before, I don't, what's it called? I'm not discouraging anybody from trying these out. They are difficult, which means that you have to like learn the technique first, watch some YouTube videos and stuff like that on the proper technique, how to pick it up, how to set it up, and stuff like that. Like for example, with a bench press, you want to make sure the weight is secure on each side, and you want to make sure that you're positioning it right. Like you're landing the barbell below your chest so it can maximize the amount of strain put on the chest, so it's better for muscle growth and as well as for burning calories, right? So definitely for these exercises down here, you must look at some YouTube videos that explain how to actually do these properly, because they do require a more extensive in-depth look into before you can fully master them. And well, that's mainly with the weighted exercises up here. Down here you can be a little bit more careless, I guess. You don't have to worry as much, because you don't have to worry about like a weight being on top of you or anything, because this is a lot more dangerous than just doing pull-ups and stuff like that, or dips. So definitely recommend watching some YouTube videos and about the forums and stuff like that. And yeah, do not neglect these. These are what's gonna seriously and drastically reduce your weight, if that's what you're looking for. Like the squats are an excellent exercise for losing weight, because like I said before, it puts most of the strain down onto your quads, your legs, and your legs are the greater calorie burner, right? Your upper body, you can get an excellent workout with your upper body, but your legs are what's gonna mostly help you out with if you're looking to burn some calories, right? Don't neglect your upper body, but don't ignore your legs either. So that's basically it for my video today. That's what I mostly wanted to talk about, the best exercises for beginners, and as well the harder exercises that you can also get into at the beginner stage. And yeah, I hope you guys found this video educational and like entertaining and stuff. I know this video was probably a little boring for some, but I'm gonna try to hype it up as best as I can in the finished product. So I'll catch you guys later. Oh, I moved that a little bit. I'll catch you guys later. Have a great one. Peace.